If you're sitting the UCAT, please don't fall into the trap of thinking that just grinding through question after question is going to get you the result that you want, because that is a myth. It's the person with the best strategy that wins. So I'm going to do this video in 6 sections and show you the changes to the exam, how to start, how much time to put in. I'll take you through each section individually and show you the common mistakes that people make with their prep that sabotages their chances of scoring highly. I'm Dr. Ash. I've studied both medicine and dentistry. I've studied at King's College London and Cardiff, and I've coached hundreds of students now to get into their chosen university. I understand how stressful it can be, especially when you've got all of the other application stuff going on. So here I'm going to show you how to get through this as efficiently and as stress-free as possible. So firstly, some important changes that you need to know about the exam. It used to be 5 sections, it's now 4. They've dropped one section called the abstract reasoning. So if you see anything on YouTube about that, ignore it because it's a waste of time, because it's completely gone. It won't serve you at all. So now we have 3 cognitive sections called the verbal reasoning, the quantitative reasoning, and the decision making. They are each scored anything from as low as 300 all the way up to 900 is the maximum. So the best that you can get for these 3 sections combined is 2,700. Then we have the situational judgment test, which is more the ethical section, which is scored from band 1 all the way down to 2, 3, and 4 is the lowest. So the highest you can score is 2,700 band 1. You would be an absolute genius if you could hit that. The lowest end you can score if you just turned up, put your name down and fell asleep at the keyboard would be 900 band 4. But the main thing you need to know is, because we have fewer sections now, one bad section is more costly. And because the abstract reasoning was such a high scoring one that they took away, it's more important now than ever to make sure that we nail those other 3 cognitive sections, as well as the SJT. Don't forget about that. Now, the question everyone wants to know is, how long should I prepare for? Now, I will say that everybody is different, but I'm going to show you a method later that's going to show how you can extend or shorten it depending on how well you're doing. But what I want you to consider is that there are really 2 phases to this. There's kind of preparation mode, and then there's what I'd call beast mode, which is the exam. And we divide that into kind of like 3 stages. But to give you a proper answer, I'd say 8 weeks is about typical. But the warning is that it is unlike any other exam that you will have sat before. And because of that, what you need to understand is, if you start early, just to familiarize yourself, understand what you're going to have to be facing when you need to up the ante and take it really seriously, as I'll talk about later, doing that early on so that you can be prepared for what's to come is really important. But this is more familiarization at this stage to know the question types, the type of math alongside while you're prepping with these questions. But I will say this, when you are in that beast mode, the most important thing that's going to help you improve is pattern recognition and understanding where you went right and wrong. So when you are in that mode, spending equal time both on attempting questions, but reviewing the answers and recognizing what you got wrong and how you're going to improve, which I'll talk about later, is going to be key to you actually doing well in this. This is why I say strategy matters so much more than just grinding through questions. But that reflection is going to guide where you should study next when you next sit down to do a little bit of focus prep, right? And in this video here, I actually go through how to be really forensic about your review and where you should be focusing to help you understand which ways you can adapt your prep and the way that you're strategizing the exam to help you improve your score. But probably the most important to think about for the UCAT is, forget this as an exam and think of it more as a performance. These skills are things that you have to do under pressure against the clock. And really what you want to do is time it so that you are peaking at the time of your exam. And it is challenging to get the timing right, but you certainly don't want to overdo it because you can burn out. So check out this video here where I talk about a study plan and how to time it just right so that you can hit your peak as you're hitting exam day. So let's look at a framework that's going to help you steadily increase your score. And this is taken from the UCATalyst Method that you can check out for free on the website. It's a 6-step plan that I've used with probably thousands of students now to help them get the score that they need. So if you want to go into more detail about that, there's like a white paper as well about how we do it. You can read in detail about how you're going to get your UCAT score up. But you can really boil it down to 3 broad phases, which are familiarization, targeted practice, and then simulation for getting up to speed with the real thing. Phase 1 is about developing the skills first before the speed and understanding the questions, and also getting the correct technique so that you're approaching each one in the most efficient way. Phase 2 is then getting used to doing these questions against the clock and slowly building that muscle to get faster and build up to the exam time. And phase 3 simulation is about really just getting used to full mocks now, getting game ready so that you can perform your best and really have a very narrow window of the range that you're going to score so that you can kind of predict how you're going to get within a certain window every single time you sit down for the exam. Remember, just grinding through questions without any reflection is a surefire way to stagnate with your score. So keeping an error log and making sure that you're not repeating the same errors over and over again is a really good way to kind of be a bit objective and take a view of how you're doing without kind of just getting your head down and repeating the same errors. So when you do make errors, ask yourself, was this a knowledge error, timing, nerves, technique? Is it a recurrent error? And what's the highest leverage thing I can do to improve on this for next time? If you pick one thing and do it and implement it and make it a natural part of your practice, then that adds up over time to really help you accelerate. This is how we teach on the predictable offer protocol, where we've got a 93% success rate. That's how you get that result. So now let's look at each section, and I'm going to give you the highest yield tips for each. Now, these are things that they seem simple and I'll reel them off quite quickly, but if you can implement them properly, they are profoundly powerful for helping you get the score that you need. So firstly, for verbal reasoning, read with purpose, be strict on the true, false, can't tells. Don't waste too long on them. Never bring outside knowledge. You should only go on what you read in the passages, and skip intelligently, especially if you've got massive passages that are going to take you forever to get through. Next, decision making, which remember is the logic section. Really make use of the whiteboard and write stuff down to help you lay out all the information that you need. With arguments, remember that the best is usually the one that deals most directly with the situation at hand. Now, treat this as the section where strategy matters most because it carries most weight. And it's almost like the battleground section these days. People tend to struggle with verbal reasoning. People tend to do well with quantitative reasoning. The people who can do well on the decision making are the ones that kind of differentiate themselves from the pack. For quantitative reasoning, the most powerful thing that you can do is get confident with your basic maths. They're not going to test you with anything really difficult. It's just how well you can do simple things under time pressure. So it'll be simple arithmetic, fractions, graphs, tables, things like that. Basically, drill the calculator shortcuts, but more importantly, only use the calculator when it's really necessary. If you can eyeball things and see, I actually don't need to calculate that because it's no way going to be 1,000, it's likely to be 3,000, you don't even need to use the calculator at all. And equally, a bit like the verbal reasoning, if you see a massive question that's going to take 5 steps to do the calculations, there are so many other easier questions waiting for you later, and it's a speed exam. So guess, flag it if you want, skip it, move on, because it's stealing points from later questions that are easy for you. And the best tip I can give you for the situational judgment test is that it's a professional standards test, not a common sense questionnaire. So focus on the most important things. So patient safety, being honest in situations, escalation. So basically asking for the help of a senior when the situation is above your pay grade. And basically remember that SJT answers are always going to be, it's a really good thing, kind of good, kind of bad, really bad. And I do a whole way to go through that decision tree on the SJT playlist that we have on the channel. So let's talk mistakes now. On the screen, I'm going to do a quick fire list of all the things that could hurt your score that you might not have thought about. So as we said already, grinding through questions without reviewing them, ignoring the SJT and thinking you can only save it till the last week, never learning the calculator shortcuts and really overusing the calculator, reading the verbal reasoning like it's English literature instead of skim reading it or reading it really fast, doing the decision-making stuff in your head rather than using paper when you practice or the board in the exam when provided, booking your exam too late and ignoring all the other stuff, and finally preparing from outdated resources from the old style of exam. Remember, the UCAT is both overvalued and underestimated. Overvalued because people think that's the only thing that you need to get in. You need a solid, rounded application, and you can check out the channel for all the videos on what else matters. There are really 5 elements, but also underestimated because people don't realize just how difficult it is until they really get into the rhythm of it and understand the pace and that thing that they need to get used to. So just remember this, the person with the best strategy will do well. On this channel, I'll give you some playlists here for me walking through UCAT questions, also doing some really useful resources for kind of how to do well. But the best method that you can do is that 6-step UCATalyst method that you can check out on the website completely for free. That's going to give you a process to go from here to your best score. So hope you find all of that useful. Best of luck with the UCAT, and I'll see you in the next video.